what would you tell that leader who is thinking in his mind, like, yes, I've made the emotional deposits, I think. I also need to address this lack of performance or, this challenge. How would you coach him to give her feedback that's constructive, but to not avoid the courageous conversation?
Yeah, that's great. I would, it depends on where I was at in this process, right? Like if this is something that they need to do tomorrow, then I would have okay, here's what we do. You're going in the office tomorrow, right? But if I met him 1 month prior or 6 months prior, I would suggest or encourage him to be intentional about taking individual one-on-one DEI type courses and things. If you're going to continue to be in this space where you have this workforce or part of your workforce that's not only, you need to read a book. You need to make sure that you are including in your own personal professional development what type of words are triggering, what are microaggressions. It's amazing to me how many people in this space that fit that example. Like, what's a microaggression? Tom. I was just with a friend yesterday. We're working on a show before we flew in, and he has this, and I mentioned Alabama, and he's like, "What happened in Alabama? Your algorithms didn't show you Alabama? You're not following some of the things you need to follow." So let's say. So for that person, I would say you already know it's going to come. At some point, you're going to have to give feedback to your people. And if you are uncomfortable, I appreciate that. That's a good sign that you even care. Read. There's a list of things that you can do. Just insert yourself. Then if it's, okay, I got to deal with this tomorrow. I got to give this constructive feedback tomorrow. I would tell Tom, is his name Tom? Because I sure gave him Tom. Okay, Tom.
We're rolling with it. We're rolling.
Hey, Tom. I would say to Tom, don't have the conversation. If your conversation is different than what you said to Becca, that's weird to me. What did you say to Becca when Becca wasn't performing? Then have the same conversation with Shaniqua. And that's where it's like, you don't have to reference the basketball team, Tom. You don't have to reference nothing else. You just stick to do the same thing that you're doing with others. And I have seen where some leaders, they'll do too much, just
trying to relate, right?
I read the Jet magazine. You like that?
Like, what does that have to do with what we're doing? Now you made me feel weird because now you making me feel like you're doing something different that you would do to anybody else. Like, just talk to me like you do every other employee and let's stick to the performance. Then that eliminates me feeling like, oh, did you say this because I'm black? Did you say this because I'm a woman? What you trying to say, Tom? I don't even have all of that because you were telling me about my performance based on the expectations that you were clear and you gave to me before, because that's where it gets tricky. We don't even really say what we want people to do and what they're supposed to do, what the outcomes, and we're like, you're not meeting what is the performance, Tom? So for me, it would be clarity on what the role is. Do some own work. This is a great example of leaders. We cannot help how we were born, period. And we cannot help being born into the world and society that we are born into. Nothing that happened before we got here is our fault. Now it's just about what are we doing with what we have. We already know diversity is profitable. Having the little girl from the hood be very creative and very outspoken and very, once we help her with some professional etiquette, she's an advantageous. She's going to help us give insight to the millennials. Having the senior developer who's been around for a long time and we appreciate, they've been here since before this place was even built. We need them. We appreciate that wisdom. That's valuable. So, we have to do our part ahead of time that we know these teams have these very rich in color and experiences. So what are we doing as middle managers to get ahead of that, to play offenses instead of defense?